Hello, everyone. I'm John Evans. Welcome to another episode of One on One. Edwin McCain has two songs that are classics. I'll Be, which made it all the way up to number 5 on the Billboard charts back in 1998, and I Could Not Ask for More, which peaked at number 3 on the adult contemporary charts a year later. Now, 30 years after his first album came out on a major record label, the South Carolina native has released Lucky, his 11th record and first collection of all new material in 15 years. Edwin is also going out on tour with Train starting August the 1st. I caught up with Edwin for the first time in more than a decade, and we talked about that new record. We talked about his memories of playing here in Wilmington and about the song that he says saved his career. Edwin McCain has performed countless times here in Wilmington, and he joins us now. Edwin, it's been a long time since we connected. It's good to see you again. Thanks for coming in.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Is it hard to fathom that 30 years have gone by since Honor Among Thieves?
I was just saying, I was talking to a friend of mine's son who's 25, and I told him today, I was like, hey, man, don't blink, because it goes by so fast. Like, I still feel the same way I did when I was 25, except for I'm 55.
Yeah. And you actually released an indie 4 years before that. So you've been at this thing now almost 35 years. When you started, did you think it would last this long?
I hoped it would. But see, when I started, I was happy playing at my little Mexican restaurant out on the deck. And I felt like I'd be happy to do that for 35 years. But when, the career started to take off, I didn't know if it was possible to be able to kind of stay in the mainstream for that long. And for years I've been telling my wife, I'm like, I don't know how much longer this is going to last, and I've always had side hustles. Like I was running a land clearing business, and I've had all these little side hustles just in case it ever went away. And, but so far so good. I mean, I'm so blessed to be able to do this 35 years later. I mean, especially considering the way the music industry is now. And it feels like the way people listen to music that, it's pretty disposable these days as opposed to when we started. So I think one of the things that really benefited us was timing. We got to be part of that last class of the big time music business. And it, worked out.
Yeah, worked out pretty well. I really like the new record, Lucky. Have these songs been sitting around for 15 years? Was this something that you said, okay, time to release another record, I better get started writing?
Some of them, like Don't Go Chasing a Memory, the opening track, that song I've had that in my hip pocket for a while. And then a lot of the songs I wrote specifically for this record. And then some of the songs I are from outside writers. And like, there's a song called When It Does on there that was written by a guy named Tom Douglas. And I just love what that song has to say. And it really is the perspective from a parent to a child. And I'm in that spot in my life where, my sons have just graduated high school and they're kind of going out in the world, and my daughter's 16. So, there were certain songs that came up that were just perfect for this record. And years ago, I kind of put down, I stopped being kind of precious about having every song have to be mine. And I think it makes for a better record. But also, I was really lucky to play with Old Dominion this year and get to know them. And, Matt Ramsey and the guys contributed the title track. And, it was one of those collaborative efforts. So I'm really lucky.
Well, I was going to ask you about When It Does, because to me, that sounds like a quintessential Edwin McCain song. And I had it down here. Who is singing that? Is it Edwin the dad, Edwin the boyfriend, Edwin the husband? But you're telling me it's Edwin the dad singing that song.
It's 100% the dad song. It's a father song. And when I first heard the song, it the way the demo came across was more, it felt more like a romantic song. And then you get to the bridge, and there's a line in the bridge that says, "The truth is, child, trouble's gonna come." And that was when it all flipped, and I realized what it was, what the song was really driving at. And I love those surprises in music where you experience the discovery of what it's about somewhere in the song. So you're exactly right. It's one of those songs where I heard it and I was like, man, this sounds like a song I would have written, and I'm mad that I didn't.
Yeah, because when I heard it as I was going track by track, I was like, wow, I can see you up on the stage with Craig. I could see you guys performing that. That sounded to me like the quintessential Edwin McCain song. Is there a real person behind the cheating?
Yes.
Who is that?
Yes. So I don't want to give away too much, but it's a friend of mine's father had a college buddy that was getting married for the fifth time or something. And he was the only one of his older friends that was going to go to this wedding. Like everybody else is, they all told him, "I'll catch the next one,"
Yeah.
and and so I don't want to give too many. I don't going to give the names up, but my buddy's father asked his friend. He said, "Why are you getting married? Why in the world are you getting married again? You've already had 4 marriages that didn't work. Why are you getting married again?" And he goes, "I miss the cheating."
It
and I,
was,
and I heard that story. As soon as I heard the story, I was like, "Well, I'm writing that song." And
yeah.
that was one of those songs that, that song took 15 minutes to write. Once it came into my brain fully formed, music and lyrics and everything. It showed up as soon as I heard that story. Yeah, yeah, you
Yeah.
can't script that kind of stuff. I will say this: that was one that I had in my hip pocket for quite a while, and I dared play it one time at a songwriter thing, and I didn't realize that if you're the guy that sings a lot of people's wedding songs, singing a song about the cheating, it was met with some icy stares from some women in the audience. I got to be honest. I actually was a little worried about putting it on this record, but it's such a funny song. I had to.
Yeah. Those are the two that just when I heard them, I was like, I've got to ask him about this. Got to ask him about this and see if there's a real person behind it
A
because,
100%
yeah,
real person that really said the reason he was getting married again was because he missed the cheating.
that is such a classic. You have never stopped performing. You've always just continued to work. This year you're going out with Train starting August the 1st. Now I know that last year you went out with Hootie and the Blowfish. Do you have to get into some kind of a readiness for that training or get your body ready for that kind of because some weeks you're playing 4 times a week.
Yeah, no, I've been doing this for so long that, and because we're with Train, my set isn't super long, so it's not like I'm playing 2 hours. But um, if I'm being honest, the most preparation has been getting my bus ready to go. Getting everything all 5x5 so we can take off and be safe on the road.
Yeah, I've seen that bus pull into several venues here in Wilmington. You and I have several mutual friends. You played Chords for a Cause here twice. I've seen you at several other different venues. What are your memories of the Wilmington area? Was this on your rotation when you first started playing gigs?
Yeah, so my my first gig in Wilmington were at the Mad Monk,
Yeah.
and we had such an amazing time at the Mad Monk. And then my friend John had a restaurant down there called Foster's. And then was there was there a place called Redbone Alley, or no, what was it called? Anyway, there was and then I played at Keffy's,
Right.
and but honestly, the days of playing the Mad Monk were amazing, because that was one of those sort of legendary stops where when you were coming up as a musician, you'd hear about all the great clubs, out of town, and consistently you'd hear about the Mad Monk, and like, all right, one day we're hopefully going to be able to play there. And we had a lot of good times, and there were a lot of good folks.
There is a video of you playing with the Wilmington Symphony Orchestra, and there were some Hoggard High School students singing with you on stage at Trask Coliseum in the first Chords for a Cause. And there was a young lady. There was a young lady who was just unbelievable, and I still remember. I still remember your face when that young lady was singing. You were almost in like a heaven state listening to this young lady do your stuff with the orchestra. I said to myself, it can't really get a whole heck of a lot better than that for a performer.
It worked so well, like on two different levels, because I was in the secret that was occurring at that time was that honestly I had pneumonia that night, and I didn't say anything to anybody because I was so sick. And when she started singing, I felt instantly better, because I was like, oh, here it is. She's rescuing me. She is saving me right now, doing such a great job. And I love moments like that, right when you think you're too worn out to do it. And then she came in and stunned the audience. That was a special moment for sure.
Yeah, that's the one that sticks in my mind. You also played on the UNCW campus at another venue. What were those early days like? I know you and Hootie, the guys with Hootie and the Blowfish, and even Collective Soul, you guys did like the South Carolina, North Carolina kind of tour, didn't you, as you guys were getting started?
We were playing basically South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Georgia, and we most of the time we were playing in fraternity houses and colleges, and that was how everybody sort of made it work, which Dave Matthews, everybody used to, that was the way we sort of survived in the beginning, was doing it that way. And sometimes I feel bad for the new bands that are starting out, because I don't think that those fraternity and sorority gigs exist. And that was really our lifeline at the time. And there were guys like Jay Stevens that ran Ziggy's that were, they were touchstones for what music was going to be the next class. And I'm not sure that exists anymore. These sort of club owners that are they're really the ones, the touchstones, the mavens that are bringing the new music, the new younger people into the mainstream. And we were so blessed to be a part of a scene that also included FM radio stations that would play unsigned up and coming artists. That was a huge thing for us when we would get on the air, like WNCW or 96 Wave, or any of the stations that would play us. But again, it was a completely different time. I mean, the music industry was a totally different animal than it is now, because
right.
On one hand, we had that kind of experience, but nowadays, like, any kid in their bedroom can put together something that can go viral and reach tens of millions of people. So it's been a huge shift.
When Honor Among Thieves came out in 1995, did you feel that you had made it and expect success to come? Because I've heard you talk about that looking back, you really thought maybe you should have worked a little bit harder. Was there an expectation? Okay, got the contract, I'm signed, sealed. Okay, everybody love me. Is that kind of the way?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was 25, so I think I was a little naive, and I think that we were in we were in uncommon company because you know my my contemporaries at the time, and I say contemporaries, I was opening for Dave Matthews and Hootie and the Blowfish and the Aquarium Rescue Unit, and we were just, and we knew the Collective Soul guys really well, and so a lot of the bands that we were friends with sold un, ungodly amounts of records. So it was like my assumption was, well, Hootie sold 20 million records. Like, surely I can sell 1 million, right? Like
Yeah.
you'd think like that was, and I didn't, looking back on it, I don't know that that was a, a totally outrageous thought to have, but it's once we got into the business, it it became really clear that there's there wasn't any there wasn't any real formula where you could just plug in the inputs and have it equal something. There's so many variables involved, and I felt like I worked pretty hard as far as like the promotion stuff, doing the radio stuff, but I didn't pay enough attention to the actual making of the record,
Okay.
that very first record, because my thought was, these are producers, these are famous record producers. They're going to know better than I will. I'll just do whatever they say. And I think you need to, looking back on it, I should have been more actively involved in some of the choices, because I go back and listen to that record, and there's some parts where I just can't even listen to it because I want to change things. I want to fix it.
I've heard you talk about I'll Be, that it saved your career.
Yeah, it was a half court hook shot at the buzzer. The president of the record company, Jason Flom, he called me and said, "Listen, I just left a department head meeting, and everybody's kind of wishy-washy on whether or not they want to keep you on the label." Because I hadn't really sold a lot of records. I mean, we sold like 300 or 400,000 records, but back then that wasn't very good. And he said, "Listen, the next thing you turn in needs to be great. Whatever the next single is going to be, it's got to be great." And I had the beginnings of I'll Be on some scraps of papers and napkins and stuff, and I told him, I was like, "Okay, well, I got this one thing I think is really going to be good." And um, the pressure was definitely on. So um, I I played it out. When I remember the first time I played it out live for people, the reaction made me feel instantly better because I liked it, but
Oh, yeah.
you never know. And
Right.
then we played it for people, and I was like, okay, this is gonna work. This is definitely gonna work.
How did that song come together?
In my little crummy apartment in Atlanta, sitting on my green futon with a legal pad and some scraps of paper with a bunch of little snippets of ideas that I had been carrying around for a month, and it was one, it was one of those things, man. It was truly a half court hook shot at the buzzer.
Do you remember when you first heard it on the radio?
That's a
Where you were?
God, that's a good one. No, I don't. I remember the first time I heard Solitude on the radio.
Right.
Um, I was in New York in a cab, and the cab driver wouldn't believe that it was me. He thought it was Hootie and the Blowfish. But I
But
don't remember the first time I heard "I'll Be" on the radio. That's actually a good question. It was probably in Charleston or Atlanta.
now I understand that you have another connection to Wilmington because Dawson's Creek, which shot here, actually helped that song, right?
Yeah. So when the record company got "I'll Be" in the final scene of the season of Dawson's Creek, and the sales went from 2,500 that week to 25,000, and that was kind
Wow.
of when we knew it had kind of gone off the cliff. And back then it was so interesting to watch those numbers, because there was a certain point where if you could just get a song to get to a certain point, as long as once it went over, it was on. It was like, the rocket was ignited and off it went. And here we are. The song is almost 30 years old and it's still going. Crazy.
My wife and I saw you when you opened for REO at the House of Blues in Myrtle Beach. And when I interviewed Kevin Cronin about 2 years ago now, he said that when they had I Can't Fight This Feeling was maybe more important than Keep On Loving You, because to him, it proved that the first major hit wasn't a fluke. Did I Could Not Ask for More fill that same slot in Edwin's career, that, okay, I'll Be was great, but here's another really good one?
I didn't, that's an interesting, at that point, if I'm telling the truth, the way that worked was, they kind of, record company kind of did that on their own. And then I had to kind of talk them into pushing it a little further, because they were getting some metrics back. They were like, oh, well, this record's probably only going to sell 500,000 copies, and they were ready to move on to something else. And I didn't have a real, I didn't really know how to get them to continue to push for me. And that was one of the things where I think at that time, it would have been really good for me to have a high powered manager, because we were just kind of doing it ourselves. Like, we didn't have I didn't have like a big time manager or big time agents or anything. And, that would have been the moment to have a big time agent or a big time manager really pushing the record company to keep driving on our behalf. But also, that was a level of career that I didn't ever think I would have achieved in the first place. So it was all new territory. And to me, I had already gotten the keys to the kingdom, because with those two songs, I can go and play as many gigs as I want to. Right? I can play gigs forever.
Yeah. It's interesting that that Kevin shared that with me when I asked him, and others that I've talked to, Lee Loughnane with Chicago, and some of the others that I've spoken. I've always asked that same question, because to the listener, it's like, we knew the first one wasn't a fluke. We love both songs. You know what I mean? Right. I think it's different from our perspective.
And to be fair, with that era with Kevin and FM radio made gods out of those bands like REO and Styx, and they dominated FM radio in the 80s. Yeah. And the bands that are still around from that era are the guys that are so nice, like Kevin and like the guys from Styx. And I can tell you, because I work with both of them, and the bands that are populated with people that aren't very nice don't last very long. And that's why Kevin Cronin, and that's why Tommy Shaw and those guys are still around, on top of being, top musicians, just being easy people to be with and kind human beings. That's a big part of this business, because it takes everybody, right? I mean, the program directors and the crew guys and all the people that are involved in this. And if you're not easy to be with, there's not a lot of people helping you out.
Yeah, I got that sense. That was one of my highlights, was talking to him, because I came aboard the Speedwagon on, you can tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish. And I haven't gotten off ever since. That was a highlight for me. You've discovered TikTok. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, along with your kids, you are so entertaining on that venue. It is really fun to watch.
TikTok suits me perfectly, because I'm so ADHD that the randomness of it just totally suits me. But what makes me laugh. There's so many funny people on there, and I enjoy all the interactions, like especially the comment sections in TikTok, are ridiculous. It's so funny. But I think one of the things I love the most about it is the ability to learn about people that I would never have known personally, right? And
Right.
so, and it sort of it matches this whole idea that I've had my whole life. I like having these uncommon friendships with people that, ostensibly I wouldn't know this person, but through a friendship, I can gain a larger understanding and be more empathetic, and friendship sort of creates this freedom from fear of other people. And there's all these people on TikTok that have like one of the guys I follow is this guy named Cody Green. He's a schizophrenic, and he's really transparent about what that living with schizophrenia is like, and what that experience is like. And and it's fascinating, and it sort of drives home this need for us to be careful and kinder with each other, because you just don't know what people are going through.
Yeah.
And I that's the part of TikTok that I like the most.
Well, it was fun the other day when you posted something that you discovered the first sunflower. I thought that was that was like the things that make Edwin McCain's day. Not great, not writing a great song, but finding a sunflower in the field made your day that day.
Well, we grow them every year, and it's always fun when the first one pops out. Because when the first one pops out, it's only a matter of a couple of more days, and
Yeah.
they're all going to be here.
Yeah, that was funny. What's the biggest compliment someone can pay to you, Edwin? Is it the fact that somebody covers one of your songs on American Idol? Is it somebody saying, "I'll be," or "I could not ask for more," was played at my wedding? What's the biggest compliment someone can pay to Edwin McCain?
I think when people say your music helped me get through a hard moment in my life, or somebody, they found some comfort in a difficult time with the music, because that's really what it's there for. And I'm always grateful that people use the music in moments like weddings. But it's always, to me, it feels like a relief that people are finding comfort in the music.
Does 55-year-old Edwin enjoy the performing part of the business as much as the 25-year-old did?
Yeah. So I 55-year-old me would probably not be friends with 25-year-old me.
Why not?
I was kind of a knucklehead, but I I love all of it. So, and I tell kids this all the time. Like, if you're going to get in this business, you can't just love the playing on stage, because that's the easy part. That's the easy part. You got to love, like, I love all the stuff. Like, I drive the bus. I like fixing the stuff. I like the entire process. And I think what I like the most are the people, the friends that I've made in 35 years of doing this, because it really is the currency, because money comes and goes, but the friendships are really the richness of life for me.
Ringo is 85, McCartney's 83, Alice Cooper 77, Billy Joel 76, Bruce Springsteen is 75. Will Edwin still be performing in 20 years from today?
I don't I don't know. I I if I will tell you that I've been planning on, I'm going to really evaluate where I'm at when I turn 60. And if I'm still able to do it at a high level, like, I don't want to walk on stage and play and have people in the audience going, "Oh," you know. I want, and I have some friends that'll be brutally honest with me. So if it's not good, I'm not gonna just go out there and hack my way through it. So I think part of the struggle with this wonderful business is knowing when to get out of the way. And so my plan is to play until I'm 60 and take a real good hard look at it and see if I'm still performing at a high level, then I'll keep going. But if not, then I'll go watch my sunflowers.
Well, I'll tell you what, we'll invite you back to Wilmington as often as you want to play. You've got a place here to play anywhere and anytime you want to. And thanks for being on the One-on-One with John Evans podcast. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
A big thank you to Edwin McCain for taking time from his schedule to join us for the podcast interview. He actually called in prior to a charity event he was doing for a friend. Lucky is available right now. I really enjoyed listening to it. I think you will too. And that coast-to-coast tour with Train starts on August the 1st. You can find ticket information on the tour and details on where to buy Lucky on Edwin's website. It's easy, edwin.com. Now, before we go, I'd like to ask you a favor. Please follow or subscribe to the One-on-One with John Evans podcast on whatever app you use to listen to your favorite shows. You can also see a video version of this podcast on my YouTube channel. Just search for John Evans TV on youtube.com. I'm John Evans. Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of One-on-One.